Borodino, the Eagle and the Bear. Part 1. The campfire burned brightly, a beacon of warmth and security in the cold, desolate night, an island in an ocean of darkness. It was not alone. The entire plain was illuminated by campfires, spread like the stars of the sky, the earth like a great mirror. To the east, Jean saw yet more, separated by an abyss of darkness, the lights of their elusive enemy. Many were saying that tomorrow would finally be the great battle promised by their emperor. The promise of battle brought fresh life to the camp. There was a sense of finality, that soon this long campaign would be over. Before long they would march into Moscow. The once seemingly distant prize now felt truly tangible. He could feel the anticipation, sitting around the campfire with the other junior officers of the 6th Hussars. "Have you ever seen anything like it, sir?" asked Lieutenant Masson, one of his subordinates, a green boy of 18, Jean being 10 years his senior. "I have seen many great battles, Lieutenant, but nothing on the scale of this," answered Jean absently. For while they had nearly 200,000 men, Jean could not help but think of those 300,000 that would not hear. Many, he knew, were guarding their supply lines, but a great many lay dead on the roadside, the dry heat of the day and the exposed cold of the night having taken their toll on the men during their long march. During those 2 long months, disappointment had become a familiar feeling for the whole army, but for Jean, disappointment had become like a wife to him, a wife who was always accompanied by her sister frustration. For a hussar like himself, there was no worse fate. Running reconnaissance ahead of the Grande Armée, to catch sight of their foe, only for them to disappear beyond the endless horizon of this vast country. The closest he and his men had ever come to battle was running skirmishes with those Cossack barbarians, hardly an impressive foe. Stocky bearded men on stocky shaggy horses, whom were as fleeting as the affections of society women, hardly worth mentioning in the great annals of military history. Jean could sense this feeling amongst his men too. Normally they could numb such stings of failure with wine, women, and song, but in this barren country no such comforts were forthcoming. "Is it true, sir, that these Russians have no taste for wines or beers, but vodka?" asked Masson. "It is true, mon fiston, it being far more efficacious at dulling one's senses." Having spent 2 months in this god-forsaken country, Jean would have appreciated it. "Yet I must confess, I have not yet tried it. At every village we have come to, it is carried off by those Cossack dogs. They will not even allow us the solace of drink. Such barbarians!" spat Jean, with genuine disdain for his foe. "That is not the worst of it. Have you noticed that at every village we come to, even the harlots have fled?" said Captain Mercier, his comrade. Jean did not need reminding. His sabretache was beginning to feel heavy with all the unspent money. It was valueless here. All the marks of civilization were simply burdens in this untamed land. "Perhaps we have seen the Russian women, and they simply resemble the men," he jested, concealing that the long march had taken his lust from him. And what was a hussar without his lust? "The men talk about this place like it is the end of the world," said Masson, seeking assurance from his superior. "Mon fiston, I have been in the army since I was your age. I have been on many campaigns, the glorious victory of 1805, the long years of 1806 and 1807, even the heat and confusion of the Peninsula, but this land, this Russia, seems unlike anywhere else in the world." Jean reflected. For it was not a land malevolent, rather indifferent towards its inhabitants. Miles upon miles of open plains, unending and featureless. It was truly inconceivably vast, a ceaseless, empty horizon which drove men to despair. "And yet its people call it mother," mused Jean aloud, in admiration. "What manner of men could see this place as mother?" asked Masson, now fearful of the enemy, who seemed to be inhuman for their capacity of disciple. "They are men all the same, mon fiston, which means they can be killed," resolved Jean, though he was not sure he believed it himself. For many like Masson, this would be their first taste of battle, but for many more it would be their last. The last words of the famous General Lasalle before his death sprung to mind. Any hussar who is not dead at the age of 30 is a blackguard." If truly tomorrow was to decide the fate of this campaign, and its consequences would then reach beyond these fields of Borodino, the destiny of France and her emperor, to be master of all Europe, to spread the values of the Revolution, would finally be fulfilled. If he was to die for his emperor in battle, then Jean could think of no better day than tomorrow.